One of the best ways to grieve, as you know, is to mourn vicariously through others. Because when we see, we ourselves feel seen. I have received more phone calls, more texts, more emails, more in-person, casual, struck up conversations, just than really at any time that I can recall since what I witnessed at 9/11. COVID was close. COVID-19 was close. Trump blames leftist radicals, dodges unity amid assassination fallout. Yes, that's correct. Why do I want to be unified with people who want me dead? And not just me, but you. Remember how Donald Trump always said, not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way. That is the new right, the ascendant right, the solar right, as Philosophicat would say. You need to be following her on X, Philosophicat. I met, obviously, Charlie Kirk and had conversation with him, both on his podcast a number of times, and other conversation, private. I was a first party witness to his practicing of his evangelical Christian faith. Who he was on stage is who he was off stage. And that is rare for any kind of a public figure. Even like a celebrity 2.0, we'll call them, I think would be appropriate to describe Charlie. See, a celebrity 1.0 is everyone knows who the person is because all the corporate distributors, promoters, marketers, advertisers, platformers, advertisers, so on and so forth are making you see somebody, be it an actor or a model or an athlete or some other artist and entertainer. That's celebrity 1.0. Charlie was a celebrity 2.0. He was a man of confidence that matched his height. In every room, he was the one everyone saw. It does seem like Charlie was like a fourth son to our president. If you haven't seen Bronze Age Perverts, what a name. What a name. If you haven't seen, or rather listened to his episode on September the 10th, the first 10 minutes of it are powerful stuff. The right, this is what we talked about in the Inhumans book, by the way. This book explains everything you have been seeing, you are seeing, and you will be seeing, and what to do about it. I don't know what else to tell you. Besides, if you haven't read this, you have no clue what's going on. And every time we have something like this, although we haven't had anything like this, anytime your expectations about what's supposed to happen, sociopolitically, culturally, militarily, or otherwise, it was already explained and predicted, forecast, and whatnot by that book. Okay. I think Charlie had us on twice just to talk about that book in particular. His organization, Turning Point, was so gracious to have me on a panel with Jack, Raheem Kassam, and Natalie Winters to speak at Turning Point, AmFest, last December. People from all over the world came to Turning Point events here in America. A global right-wing alignment around one organization, one man. Yes, he's got his Tyler, he's got his Andrew. Those people are legit, okay? Legit. Steve Jobs had Steve Wozniak. But metaphorically speaking, Charlie Kirk was a Steve Jobs of the political and cultural new American right. I think that comparison is appropriate. There's so much that could be said in celebration, in reverence, and even in grievance. We're on a new timeline, people. This is not the timeline that we were supposed to be on. The timeline that we had been on 2 days and 5 hours and 42 minutes ago. On that timeline, Charlie Kirk became the president of the United States of America after J.D. Vance, 48, served his 2 terms. In that Bronze Age pervert first 10 minutes of that episode, Bap, he is better known as, he explains how tit for tat violence never works. We talked about this in the Unhumans book. Street fighting does not work. There were, by the way, in that book, we did not talk about other communist uprisings that either succeeded or failed. We specifically talked about revolution. Those not necessarily uprising like street fights and wars. Those happened in Greece in the 40s and Germany in the 20s and 30s. Tit for tat street violence also happened in Argentina in the 70s. Bap talks about this. It happened in the Balkans between the right and the left. That is what we want to avoid at all costs. That would dishonor Charlie. Being stupid, getting angry, and being overcome with revenge lust. And I understand it. I get it. That's not how we do things on the right. We are the people of order. Orderly justice. Yes. But we do things orderly. One of the men that we admire, of course, is Generalissimo Francisco Franco. He was a modern-day judge in the Old Testament sense of Spain. He had to do what had to be done because there was literally nobody else. He was a patriarch. He had a father's heart for his land. He said, no, we're not doing that. The communist socialism, we're not doing that. He had an orderly, justice-driven counter-revolution against the communists. What I am asking for is 2% Franco on this Franco Friday. 2% Franco. We know that there are massive, well-funded networks of Antifa, radical leftist groups, Transtifa, okay? They're on Discord. They're on Reddit. They're on Blue Sky. They're on Twitch. There are likely accomplices and more. And what must be done, as BAP encouraged and others, is a legal, institutional, justice-driven, immediate, and overwhelming response to the problem of persistent left-wing revolutionary violence. Thomas Matthew Crooks, Ryan Wesley Ruth, Luigi Mangione, Tyler Robinson, I believe is his name. So much more. Irina's killer. There. Every day there's a new story about the left going crazy. But they're not really crazy, are they? They know exactly what they're doing. And if you've read Unhumans, you know what I'm talking about. What am I getting at this point? What I'm getting at is, if you don't follow him, follow Luke Weinhagen. Weinhagen. Luke Weinhagen. He points out that while we ideally want due process to occur in all of this, we cannot outsource our self-defense to due process. Understand this. We are responsible. Remember, the lawless choose the time, the place, the setting, the situation, the vulnerabilities of their targets. The potential victims choose none of those things. Because of that, What are you going to do about it to protect yourself, protect your family, protect your assets, protect your community, protect those you're responsible for and accountable to? What are you going to do about it? This is the time for the father's heart to burn fierce in this country. Dads are not reactionary. Think of the most reactionary right-wing movements in history. And if you look them up, you realize how few of them had children, the leaders of them. We are in the age of fathers against the childless and the fatherless. One wants to build civilization and protect it for our vulnerable, our innocents, our families. The other wants to burn everything to the ground, wants to explode people's necks in front of millions of people. I can't say that I know what Charlie Kirk would have wanted. But what I can say is he would have wanted us to do the right thing. The right thing.